It's 7:30. I'll call order the meeting. Please stand for a silent prayer, and then we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. God bless America. How about Tim, you could lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
Okay, we've got the agenda in front of you, and for roll call, got my light that's off, but I'm here, and Mr. Otten has called in and said that, so he's excused from the meeting. So we've got the affidavit of posting. So notice of meeting, this meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. Prior to this meeting, public notice was given by posting a copy of the agenda in the office of the county clerk and emailing the agenda to the West Bend Daily News, which is the official newspaper. God bless you. In addition, the agenda was emailed to CNI Newspaper, Express News, Kewaskum Statesman, Milwaukee Journal, WIBD, WMBZ Radio, and WTKM Radio. The above action is in conformity with the state of Wisconsin open meeting law. So we're good to go. At this point in time, we have on the agenda our consent agenda. Motion from the floor. Motion by Mr. Sorcy. Seconded by Mr. Hartwig. And we have a buzz in here from Maryland. Turn on.
Yes, I noticed in the minutes on the April 4th minutes that it's chairman, chair instead of chairperson in the second paragraph.
It is chairman.
Pardon?
It is chairman.
It
I'm the
should be
chairman. I'm not a
chairperson.
chairperson. I'm a chairman. And whoever's up-
Chairperson is the correct terminology.
No, that's not true.
Well,
I
check,
take exception to that.
check the statute.
Well, then we'll change it. So that's, I take exception to that. Okay, anybody else have any issues? Are we ready to do regular voting? Should we do voice?
This one's just voice.
We'll do voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have consideration before you. Bunch of resolutions, starting with Resolution 81. We have something from the floor to introduce. Mr. Bolowa, second by Dawn. Any description of this for the non-lapsing accounts? Josh, you want to take lead, or we're good? Okay, any questions? If not, we'll go to voting electronically. We're ready to go? Okay. All those in favor, please press your button for aye. Mr. Kist? Uh-oh, maybe his lights, oh, there we go. 24-0, motion carries. Next up, Resolution 82, if we could have a motion from the floor to introduce. Motion by Mr. Kreefall, second by Mr. Schleif, sorry. And I think we need a second to clear the board. Ready to go? All those in favor, please vote using your green button. Mr. Bossert has a question? No?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Okay, are we gonna take time for comments on this one?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so I'm looking at the capital improvement plan,
Okay, ready to
and,
vote? All right, I'm gonna unplug the whole thing, huh?
Please don't, no,
Don't do that?
no, it'll die.
The
I
whole thing
can
will die.
pause it, and it won't show any votes.
We can take it out, so if we have to do by hand vote, we will then. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay, so I was looking at this, and when I look at the plan for 2023, it looks like we're increasing the portion of our sales tax at that point that goes to operational funds. Is that correct? Am I seeing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, is that meant to then be a permanent change, that going forward, 50% of the sales tax would go to our operational funding?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a little bit concerned about that we're increasing our dependence on our sales tax. So we're already dependent on that enough. And
Would you like me to explain it, or?
if you'd like to offer some commentary, yeah.
Sure. So the thought process was, and it's consistent with our 5-year financial plan, that we would work ourselves into a position where, as you know, we have a $1 to $1.5 million gap every year. We've got ideas and pieces in place to close that gap between now and 2022. After that time, assuming things all stay as they are, there are no real solutions, and so this would be one of those in place. Of course, it being a 5-year plan, things can change, including you would need to change the county code in order to be able to do that, to make that actually effective. So there would be several approvals that need to happen, but yes, you are reading that correctly.
Okay, so this isn't set in stone. In order to enact that change, we have to change the county code prior to 2023 as well.
Correct.
So we'll get a second pass on it at that point.
Yeah, my understanding is the current code reads that 40%, I believe it is no more than 40% of sales tax shall be utilized for general fund operations. That's the piece that would need to be tweaked.
You can actually do it at any time. It doesn't have to be, in one particular year.
Well,
So
right,
when you say
right.
second, yeah.
But because this plan is
Right.
looking at 2023, it would have to be before that.
Historically, I believe we've always done it with this number of years
Right.
from
Yeah.
the onset of starting with the plan, yeah.
Yeah, so in that regard, you'll actually get 4 more kicks at it,
That's what I was
because you
getting
have
at.
a plan every
Yeah.
year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure. Mr. Krebs?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to go right off of what you said then, we'll have 4 more kicks at some of these issues. But for the stuff for 2019, this is our last kick or vote at it.
With the possible exception of the proposed borrowing in 2019, because that by law you have to actually approve as a separate resolution.
Okay,
So that particular piece would come back
Okay,
for board approval.
but some of these individual projects in here, once we vote on them today, all bundled together, we don't get to go back and really debate an individual project so much.
Procedurally, that is how you have set it up in the past. Technically, you could change it because what you're approving is a CIP budget, which will be put into the annual budget. So technically, you could change it, but procedurally, the way you've established a CIP, now would be the time if you have a change. Now would be the time to change it for 2019.
If anybody, I would say based on that, for transparency, if you have an issue, now would be the time to bring it up so that everybody, while we have everybody here versus at a committee level. Because it'd be kind of disingenuous to, if you have an issue with, now would be the time. For this next year, I think. That way everybody knows, we're all here, we have a venue.
Sure. Well, I'll bring up the page I'm open to right now is I'm looking at the countywide bike trail plan implementation. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm not really excited about it.
In what regard, Brent? I mean, go ahead. You're not
I
excited
guess-
about it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not motivated enough at this time to make a motion to remove it and stuff, but
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that not only I understood that, but everyone else understood that for this year, if it's a yes or no vote, that's what you're voting for everything. So, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hold on. I'm too fast today, so everybody's slowing me down, so, okay, Chris.
So I heard mention of borrowing, and I didn't originally see that when I looked through this. Can you point me to that so I
Ooh,
know
that's a big one.
exactly?
Yeah, we should make
Yeah.
sure everybody understands. That's a big one.
Several locations.
Yeah, and maybe I missed it because there's a lot of numbers in this.
Certainly. Let me just get to the different sheets. There's a couple of them. See the easiest one to find here. The first, probably easiest one, I'm not sure what page it is on yours, but it says Exhibit A on the bottom right. On the very top, it's called the Capital Improvement Program 2019 to
Okay, let me make
2023.
sure. I'm looking here,
On my PDF document, it's page 51, but I don't know.
yeah. Is it, the one
Could you
with
tell
all
what's on
these
the top of
numbers,
the-
right?
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
Page 3? I'm told.
3 of our 16, I believe, when you're looking, when you click on
Okay,
this.
so I think I see it now. You're referring to $10 million for 2019 and 12 million for 2023? Is
Correct.
that right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's gonna increase our debt if we follow that plan by $22 million.
Correct. And it's also listed in the committee report. I've got the items spelled out, the big changes, if you will. Item number 3 spells out exactly that 10 and 12 million, and then it also spells out what the borrowings would be directed towards.
It's labeled as reconstruction debt issues for everybody. I'm sure we're all-
Yes. And this
Okay.
is consistent with your 2050 transportation sustainability plan.
Was just brought, was that last month, brought on, right?
Either last month or the month before, yeah?
Okay, is there, because I'm always concerned when we're borrowing, is there other plans for any borrowing on the horizon?
No.
Okay, and what's the payback timeframe that we're looking at on this borrowing?
So when I indicated, with regard to Supervisor Krebs's question, that's the one item that'll need to come back. That's exactly why we can't spell that out to you today.
Okay.
For the purposes of the plan, this is really
Yeah.
a safe a placeholder number. But you would get a resolution that specifies all of the detail surrounding that at that time. So I would say in the next 3 months,
Okay.
we'd be back to, at least to committee with that
Yeah.
information.
All right.
Okay, Chris? Yep. Okay. Brian?
Thank you. On that same page 3, I believe it was, the main table there, the second box labeled unassigned sales tax fund balance. They're all smaller numbers, and I'm assuming that's because it's unassigned, but why are we going negative some years?
It's really kind of our best estimate. The numbers are so small that I'm really not too worried about them relative to the size of the entirety of the capital improvement plan. But even 2019 is our best guess at where previous projects have ended relative to the budget that we had for them, and any excess that we had. And moving forward, we're just making our best guess at where the projects that we have listed will end.
Yeah, I agree.
You're
that-
talking about the $2,695 in 2022?
Yep,
And then 177.
yep, it's sprinkled every year that there's either a start or an end with
Yes.
a negative. I agree they're small numbers compared to the bigger numbers above, but like say 2019 right away, our funding sources is 17.5. Our expenses or priority projects are 17.5. So really, I'm looking, that should be a your estimated guess is even, but you're showing a change of 77,000 if I'm looking at this right.
Yeah, we're gonna utilize some of the existing sales tax fund balance.
Oh, so
In
some of
2019.
the funding sources are from,
If you
Oh, I see-
notice,
I
they
see that
flow
above there now.
from year
Okay,
to
I
year.
see
We
that
have a
number.
balance to start
Yeah.
with, so it's gotta, that's the account that it has to go through. Everything has to go through, so it's either gonna be positive or negative at any given time.
okay, that makes more sense. I
Does
see it
that
on the
make
last
sense?
line of the funding table now.
Okay.
Thank you, okay, much,
Sure.
much better.
Ray? I'm sorry.
Regards to the 10,000 and the 20 and 12,000, 10 million and $12 million borrowing, and it says for K, W, M, and P. Is that just spread out for both of those over a 5 or 6 year period, or?
So this is part of the question we need to understand from bond counsel is how much latitude do we have with borrowing? So County Highway K between Highway 83 and I-41 is being reconstructed next year. So we would need to be borrowing for that stretch of road. County Highway, I'm going off memory now, County Highway W, someone's got my binder. Oh, that's right. County Highway W from 175 north to 33, I believe is 2020. And so the question we're gonna ask them is, can we borrow now to do maybe those two projects? And then in a few more years, borrow for a few more projects? Because engineering and reconstruction overlap. So for example, County Highway K engineering's happening as we speak. We're in the midst of that. So we need to nail down that answer, but, so it could flow over a couple of years.
So it's 4 projects, but over maybe 4 to 6 years.
That's correct.
And you can only borrow it twice.
Correct. That was the strategy I
Well,
tried to
we
lay out.
can borrow anytime,
Yes,
but the idea was to spread it out there. I think that, in that plan, the
Yeah.
way it was presented, right, for your sustainability.
that's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll do the vote by pressing the 2 buttons. If you're in favor, press the green. If you're opposed, press the red. Okay. Mr. Soers, good. Passes 21 to 3. Okay, next up is Resolution 83 for general fund transfer. Ms. Dice, motion, Peter Sorcy for a second. At this point, any discussion or questions? So I think, Chris, yours came in first.
I am, as a member of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, I am fully supporting this resolution except for one item. And I would move to amend the resolution and delete lines 1 and 2 on page 2 regarding the client fee. In the fiscal notes at the bottom of the resolution, you will see that the client fee is conservatively expected to generate about $32,000 of revenue. This amount was increased to $60,000 at the executive committee meeting and added to the body of the resolution. The $32,000 amount was obtained during a Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee meeting. The members of the CJCC committee handle these cases, the second, third, and fourth time OWI offenders. They include the DA, a defense attorney, a public defender, staff from Elevate, our Human Services Director, law enforcement, and those in the court system. I think we need to listen to them. Please understand that many of these people who struggle with this disease are usually down and out and have little of anything. The $32,000 figure is conservative, and we hope actual dollars will exceed that amount. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that the overriding purpose of the TAD program is to provide assistance so that offenders do not reoffend. That's what will keep our roads safe and our citizens safe from harm. Judge Martins, who chairs the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, is here, and I would ask permission from the board for him to speak to the resolution.
Okay, at this point, we have a motion for an amendment, seconded by Chris. So let's wait with that right now. So what I'd like to ask, if there's any objection to have someone speak. If hearing none, I would honor that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Judge Todd Martins. I chair the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, and I appreciate the board's consideration of this resolution. The OWI TAD program in Washington County has been studied by the UWWC and found to significantly reduce OWI recidivism. Unfortunately, because of a change in policy at the state level, the TAD program, the OWI TAD program, no longer receives state funding. State funding has been directed toward opioid and opiate abuse. So now we have a TAD program that's focused on opioid and opiate abuse, and we had to drop the OWI TAD program. The CJCC considered whether we should restart this program because it does work. And we do hope to collect fees. We talked about collecting hopefully about $1,200 from each, from at least a significant percentage of OWI TAD participants. This is significantly higher than fees that are charged for similar programs in surrounding counties in southeastern Wisconsin. We do feel that buy-in, financial participation by participants is important, and we have been talking amongst the DA, defense attorneys, clerk of courts, and Elevate about ways to ensure that TAD participants do pay some fees. But we have to consider the offender's ability to pay. We have to consider that the typical fee or the typical fine in an OWI case is several $1,000s. We have to consider that financial stressors are often contribute to relapse in people who are in treatment. And we have to consider that we have to make this program available to defendants regardless of their ability to pay. So while we do hope to collect significant fees from TAD participants, we're just not sure how much we'll collect. So, thank you.
Would you mind if there's any other questions?
Sure.
Just hold on one second. At this point in time, we have a first and a second for an amendment. I'd like to see if there's any informational questions right now at this point in time, not relative to the amendment, but overall, if that's okay. So I guess that's the questions I'd like to out on the floor. So first off, though, Mr. Bullowa was out there.
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My goal in changing the amount from the 32 to the 60 was indeed to have the financial buy-in. I guess I did not consider all of the other fees and expenses that are incurred when someone does have an OWI. I didn't take that into account. So I'd be agreeable to going back down to the 32,000 if that's the wishes of this board.
Okay. Mr. Krebs?
Are we looking for questions in general or the amendment?
Well, at this point in time, because I have a speaker up here, that's why I asked if it's okay with everybody. I'd rather, if you have any of the
Sure.
speaker, if not, we can go back to the discussion right after this to the amendment, so if you have.
I got two questions
Okay.
for him right
Yep.
away. First off, with the TAD program, why do we consider, or is this for second, third, and fourth offenders? Or why are first offenders not included in that?
Because first offenders don't face any criminal penalties. There's mandatory jail on second, third, and fourth offenses, but there's no jail on a first offense. And one of the key components of a TAD program is that if you successfully complete your treatment, you get less jail.
Okay, and so that was my second question. It's not that the charge is being dismissed or going away, it's just a lesser sentence?
That's correct. You still have a conviction. State law prohibits the amendment or dismissal of any OWI charge in return for programming.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Basil?
I heard it at executive and I heard it again today, many offenders. How many is many? Let's say out of 10, how many are financially distressed that they couldn't do this?
Well, that's a good question. We sought input from the public defender, criminal defense attorneys, and folks at Elevate, and they estimated that, they said that a significant portion of OWI offenders can afford to do this. The trouble or the challenge that we're facing is how do you collect it? Elevate is the organization that administers the treatment, and they're primarily a treatment provider, and we don't have a lot of the leverage that we have. Say the clerk of courts has a lot of leverage in collecting fees. They can do tax intercepts, get judgments, and that's one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time on is trying to figure out ways, how can we get fees collected, because we've made a determination, I think Elevate's made a determination that you're not going to throw somebody out of the program based on their failure to pay. So it's looking for leverage, basically, is what we're doing. But to answer your question, I think a significant majority of TAD participants would have the ability to pay.
Well, that's just my concern. I brought it up at the executive. I mean, you're at your third and fourth. I'm sorry, there's got to have to be something really radical to get to change your mind or do something. I mean, and that's why I supported it also. I'm going to have to give this some thought as we go through this process here to see if I'll change my mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelling?
Just for the amendment, not for Judge Martin.
Okay, I'll
Thank you,
come
sir.
back to you then, yep. Mr. Creedfall?
Yeah, I'm kind of making a comment, and you can maybe comment on my comment too, that coming from a law enforcement background and seeing how OWI's, alcohol-related crashes that include fatalities is the biggest factor in fatalities in the United States. So if we can utilize this program and keep people off the road that are driving drunk and saving lives, it's one of the reasons that the program was instituted in the first place, and it's shown to be a success. Maybe you can comment to that?
A recent study by the Wisconsin Counties Association found that for every dollar that you spend on programs like OWI TAD, there's a $1.94 or so that is gained in return. Among the savings included our thousands of fewer jail bed days every couple of years because people serve shorter sentences, less social service needs because kids stay in their homes, law enforcement costs are down, county expenses like county court costs are reduced. So that's the Wisconsin Counties Association study of cost savings associated with investing in this type of treatment program. So I agree.
Okay, Mr. Kelling, you had something on the amendment?
So to the amendment, I'm just trying to clear this up from my own point of view here. I'm not exactly understanding all this. So at what, 32,000 was, Ms. Dice? Was the original estimate?
Yes.
And then it was changed to 60 at executive
Yes.
board? Is this just an accounting thing? Like, okay, this is what we expect conservatively, and is this 60,000 to kind of soften the number that we might not be adding as much money to this project? Is that?
I think I can answer that question. We specified in the resolution, this was also changed at executive, that this general fund transfer will authorize the full expenditure, $250,000. So no holds bar, they will have the money to do the work that they need to do. Then the question just simply becomes, how much can we possibly get back? Staff's best estimate, based on the work of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, was that is going to be around $32,000. The goal, I think, of executive's motion was to try and crank that up just a little bit. And now the question on the floor is, should we just leave it? Because we're committing the 250 anyway, regardless. Just really the directive will become, if you strike this out and you approve this amendment, the goal will be make the program work. We'll find out how much money we can get back and we'll take it from there. What's important to know about this resolution is it indicates that it's coming back to you. In about 18 months, you'll have this sitting in front of you again, contemplating the success of the program, how much we got back. We'll have a real firm grasp. And at that time, we will ask you whether or not, we will recommend to you whether or not we should continue the program into perpetuity and make it a part of the budget. I think at that time it'll be 2021. So similar to the last item, you'll have another kick at this. We're simply asking for the full general fund transfer, and the amount, 32 or 60, doesn't really matter that much.
Okay, then I would suggest to the board, it's really not pertinent to the actual implementation of the program itself. And considering the recidivism rate, I've noticed, I've read this program back when we were doing the opioid program, TADS program, and I read this program because it was modeled after it. And it would appear to me that the recidivism rate is greatly reduced based on the program when we did it before. So I support the program, and the rest of this, in my opinion, from what Josh has stated me, which is a great answer, this is all just kind of semantics, and that we need to just go ahead and, if Chris wants to take it down to the conservative number, I'm great with that. I always believe in error on the side of caution, but really we should just get this done and put it through. Thank you.
Chris? Did you buzz in? No.
Oh, no, I'm,
Still on.
I agree with Dennis, but I don't think it's necessary to have this in there, considering the way the rest of the resolution has been written, so
Based on
I
the
hope the others agree with me.
Okay. Any other questions on the amendment? At this point in time, we're going to vote for the amendment. Marilyn?
Would you repeat the amendment, please?
It's to amend Resolution 83 to strike lines 1 and 2 from page 2 of the resolution.
follow that? Okay. At this point in time, we will do a vote based on the board, okay? And this is on the amendment. Twenty-one to 3, so the resolution has been amended. At this point in time, are there any questions, comments on on the amended resolution? Okay, we'll be voting as soon as we're ready. Good to go? Okay, we'll vote using the board system. Twenty-three to 1, the resolution passes. Thank you for coming too, for comments. Okay, next up is Resolution 84, grant application. Could I have a motion from the floor for introduction? Motion by Mr. Bullowa, second by Mr. Gonring. Any comments, questions? Marilyn?
Just one question relative to the report that was written, and I noticed that the chair had not supported that. Is there a reason that we should be aware of as to why it was not supported in total?
Mr. Bullowa?
I can speak to that. So this was regarding the erosion of, I guess you would call it shoreline along the riverbanks. My thoughts on that were it's nature. Nature's going to happen, whether we put more rocks along the side or not. I just didn't want to spend money on that. Thank you.
Thanks for responding. Marilyn, does that help? Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, ready to go on the system? We will vote using the board system. Twenty-four to 0, motion passes. Next up is Resolution 85 for the county-aided bridge replacement. Mr. Mayor is first, Tim Mahalik, second by Mr. Krebs. Any questions or comments? We had some discussion on this. Hold on. Okay, I guess from what we have, we might have a couple amendments, or, excuse me, clarifications on the resolution from Mr. Schmidt, if you'd like to speak.
Good morning, everybody. If you look at a copy of your resolution, I'm not sure what page it is on your thing, just a couple clarification items we want to put in there. Line number 8 says county-aided bridge replacement. It's actually a culvert replacement, just to make sure that the county board is aware that it's not a bridge that's getting replaced. It's county culvert and bridge aid. So this is actually a culvert, or a large culvert, 54-inch culvert that's going to get a liner in it. So just want to make sure there's it's not a bridge, but a culvert. Also, line 14, so we will line a culvert. It says on bridge on Arthur Road. There's a little Scrivener error in there, so if you strike the word on bridge, so it's obviously to aid to line a culvert. And then it's approximately not 2,600 feet, but it's actually 1,600 feet west of County Highway U or Airport Road. So just some minor changes in there that we want to make sure that the board is aware of, kind of some Scrivener errors that were made in there. So we apologize for those. But we're still completely supportive of lining that culvert with the town of Hartford.
I think we should have a motion for the 3 changes, line 8, line 14. Motion by, everybody's in a hurry on this one here. So we got Mr. Kelling is a motion, and I heard Bullowa second for those 3 changes. Everybody understand the 3 changes? So what we're gonna do is vote on the amendment, and we'll do that by board right now. Okay, that passes. Thank you for those changes. Now we'll go to the regular resolution as amended. Seeing no comments or questions from the floor, if we could wait a second to be ready, and then we'll go. All right, here we go. We'll vote by board. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up, we have Resolution 86 for the relocation order on County Trunk Highway K 83. From the floor, Mr. Krebs is a motion, second by Mr. Sorcy. Comments, questions? Okay, we've got Mr. Kelling.
Just a clarification, when they say relocation order, is that just the wording that they use because you're adding turning lanes and
That's the
things like that?
technical, that's what we've always been, that can be consistent.
I
in the
just
past.
wanted to make sure that that was understood.
That's how
Thank you.
we've used it, yeah. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, if we could vote using the board, if we're ready, we're good to go. Mr. Kist. All right, passes unanimously 24-0. So, okay. Next up is Resolution 87, Land Information Program, Retained Feed Funds Transfer.
Probably that button was my guess.
So we'll do two votes. Okay, so I do that before I introduce it, or best do that? Okay, council's given me some advice on how we should handle this to be all up to code. We actually need a motion to suspend our rules to be able to act on this right away because of the retained fee portion of this. So our motion would be to suspend the rules by Mr. Mahalik, seconded by Mr. Getz. At this point in time, we're gonna vote on that by a voice vote.
It is a 2/3 vote.
Oh, never mind, then we'll do it by board, I'm sorry, we'll do it by board to be official on it. And then after that, we'll go in and introduce it. Okay, we have a question on the actual suspension of the rules by Mr. Krebs.
Why are we suspending the rules?
In this particular case, this matter had come before Public Works. We had recently made a change to the ordinances that require all fund transfer matters to go before Executive Committee. So in light of that change, because this didn't go through Executive Committee, our current code says that resolutions that aren't introduced by a committee have to be referred by this board back to the committee for consideration. So essentially, it bounces it to exec if we don't suspend the rules, so you guys can consider it today. That's the reason for it.
Thank you.
Purely procedural.
Sure.
If anybody has a problem from executive, now would be the time to say it, but I don't think so. So, at this point in time, I've got the motion in this, did I already have the motion second from Tim and Dan? Yep. Okay, so are we ready to vote?
Yes.
We'll vote by board. Motion carries unanimously 24-0. Next up is ordinance 44. Oh, sorry, the actual resolution 87. Confused myself already. So we need a motion by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Schlafe. Any questions or comments on this now? Okay. Ready to, Mr. Krebs is blinking. You're on, you're good? Nope. Sorry, I didn't turn it off.
We're ready to vote.
Ready to vote by board, please? Motion carries 24-0, so the resolution passes. Next up is ordinance 44 regarding supervisory districts. Motion from the floor from Mr. Gonring, seconded by Ms. Dice. Any questions, comments from the floor on this? Seeing none. We ready to go? Ready Ready to vote by board. Mr. Bossert and Mr. Getz. Everybody knows the answer. Motion passes. All right, carries. Next up is ordinance 45, regarding the Washington County Staffing Plan. Motion by Mr. Mahalik, seconded by Mr. Hartwig. Questions or comments from the floor on this? Seeing none, are we ready to go? Ready to go, vote by board? Motion carries 24-0. Next up, ordinance 46, Washington County Staffing Plan. Motion to introduce from the floor by Dawn, seconded by Mr. Sorcy. Any questions or comments from the floor on this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll vote by board. Are we ready? We'll vote by board. Chris? Motion carries 24-0. Okay. That is everything on the agenda. Good to go. So we will adjourn, how do you pronounce this?
Synodia.
Better from council to say than I. So we'll do it that way. We need a motion from the floor by Mr. Getz. This will be one of your last motions here maybe, huh?
I'd just like to say thank everybody for everything you did for me, and maybe that room over there was special.
I'm sorry, Eric.
It was an honor, it was an honor to serve on this board, it really was. It just, I wish more people would get involved, and good luck to the new board. I leave with no regrets, and I served with probably 100 different county board members.
I
I
believe
just
it.
added it up the other day, and it's over 100 different county board members. Mark, you're the oldest one on the board now after this, so good luck to the new board, and geez, I wish you guys the best.
Well, we're gonna break from policy here. We're gonna let anybody speak that wants to, but Mr. Getz, you've done a great job representing this county, and I think one of the biggest families within the county. I don't know how many you ever got to, but I know with Mamie you were over 100, right, with your family, with
We
Getz's
had over 100 descendants, yes.
descendants, and I know my family was privileged to be with your family in Richfield, and you've done a tremendous job in supporting the history of Richfield and carrying on traditions and letting people remember what the past represented with Richfield. But serving on this board, I got to serve with you on highway and on different other committees, and I think you did a great job. All the supervisors, at this point, I'm gonna say that I enjoyed working with all of you. In particular, I want to stress the importance of working with Don during the last couple of months. When Rick decided to take the position that he did as first vice chair, I took that position moving up, but I needed some help, and there's a bunch of supervisors within this room that helped. It came up fairly quick, and I have a full-time job. Don stepped up and did a tremendous job. He represented, I think, the county in a very good light by going to different functions, and I just want to thank him for helping me, because being chairman does entail going throughout the county and going to different functions, meeting different people, and handling different things. I want to thank everybody at the board for the patience with working for me the last couple months with this role. And also at the executive. I'll have to say, being on the executive committee for a number of terms, this executive committee, the questions were many at different meetings, but the civility, I think, expressed by all the executive members, I hadn't been with an executive committee that we let everybody speak. It's America. You can ask any questions, just like at the board level. But the executive committee, I think, did a tremendous job this last term in accomplishing things and working with Josh and staff on things. So I want to thank everybody. Okay, so did we have that motion or second? I think motion was from Mr. Getz. Anybody else leave, Mr. Heidke will give a second on that, okay? All those in favor say aye by verbal vote. Aye. Thank you. Okay, at this point in time, we'll have a call to order, and we'll go with a moment of silent prayer and a pledge of allegiance. God bless America. Mr. Mahalik, if you could lead us in pledge. Okay, so we've got the affidavit of posting. So notice of meeting, this is a meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. Prior to this meeting, public notice was given by posting a copy of the agenda in the office of the county clerk and emailing the agenda to the West Bend Daily News, which is the official newspaper. In addition, the agenda was emailed to CNI Newspaper, Express News, Kewaskum Statesman, Wonky Journal, WIBD, WMBZ Radio, and WTKM Radio. The above action is in conformity with the state of Wisconsin's open meeting law. So official. Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to have the three Sergeant of Arms, which are Mr. Gonring, Mr. Sorcy, and Mr. Bolowa. If we could have the new supervisors raise their hand, and they'll be escorted to their seats. And then I'm just going to ask, at that point in time when we're sitting, we'll have an introduction of who you are and what you represent as far as a district. If you could please come forward and meet a supervisor that will escort you to your seat. Oh, yeah. Everybody's got a seat. Pete. We got it? Chris? Yep. That'll be the first thing. Yep. Okay, looks like we're making our way on the last one. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. So, if I could have all the new supervisors raise their hand one more time, I'm gonna have you stand up so that everybody can see who you are, because we're gonna be voting on different things, and I think it's fair for all the supervisors to know who everybody is at this point in time. So if you could please stand up maybe everybody stand up for the new supervisors. If just the new supervisors could stand up, and then I'll just go around, and then all you have to do is say your name and what district you represent, okay? Mr. Brandt, I know you, so let's start with you in the back, okay?
Russ Brandt, District 16.
Thank you.
Richard Bertram, District 9.
James Berg, District 18.
Brian Gales, District 23. William Smisek, District 10.
Brian Carr, District 7.
Chris Jenkins, District 4.
Okay.
Marcella Bishop, District 14.
Carol Mary Bishop. Carol Mary, District 26.
Thank you. On behalf of all the supervisors, we want to thank you for serving, and we look forward to working with you. At this point in time, we're going to have a roll call by the county clerk.
I'm over here.
You're over here?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Michael Basel.
Just say here or I.
Yeah. Richard Bertram. Marcella Bishop. Christopher Bossert.
Here.
Rock Brandner.
Here.
Russell Brandt.
Here.
John Balua.
Here.
James Berg.
Yes.
Frank Carr.
Here.
Christine Dice. Brian Galletz. Joseph Gonring. Robert Hartwig. Chris Jenkins. Dennis Kelling. Roger Kist. Brian Krebs. Donald Creefall. Mark McEwen.
Here.
Carol Mary.
Here.
Marilyn Merton. Timothy Mahalik. Michael Parsons. Jeffrey Schleif. Peter Sorcy. And William Smisek.
All accounted for, and everybody's here. Our next role is the administration of the oath of office with the clerk.
So I'm going to have you all stand and raise your right hand, and I'm just going to have you repeat after me. I, and then state your name. Having been elected to the office of County Board Supervisor. District, and then state your district number. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin. And will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you. Sorry.
That was flawless, everyone, flawless.
Oh, please,
Okay,
yep. One oath, please pass it to your right.
Let's go ahead and do that.
And sign
now.
it, correct.
Yes, Mr. Sarcy?
I might have a spare case over here.
Okay.
Behind my desk here. They'll be passing them along. Whoever's right it is. Are you collecting one of these? They don't have to just collect them right here. Yeah, just back it up.
Thank you.
One's your copy and one copy needs to be turned in, please. Okay, next up, we're gonna have the adoption of rules of order. And we'll need a motion from the floor for that. Mr. Kist, second by Mr. Bossert. Seeing nothing from the floor as questions or comments, let's do a voice vote for that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, our first order will be the election of chairperson. We'll be using the red cards that are at your desk. And our first part of this for the process will be, you can either introduce yourself as a nominee to be chairman, or someone else from the floor can nominate someone to be chairman. So I'm gonna start us off, make it real easy, and I'm gonna nominate Mr. Creefall as chairman of the county. You'd like to second for, well, you don't need a second, we just need nomination, I'm sorry, I should have explained that part of the rules. We just need a nomination, we don't need a first and a second for that. So Mr. Creefall's on the board right now, Ms. Merton? We have a motion, or a nomination of Mr. Gonring for chairman. Are there any others from the floor? Okay, so procedurally, you have the cards in front of you. As you're done with them, we will pass them. Which way would you like to pass? Who's gonna, Sergeant of Arms gonna help me with this?
We have ballot collectors.
Ballot collectors? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll take care of that from that point in time.
Yeah, it does. There's a picture way at the beginning. go, there's nothing left.
Oh, probably this way. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Sure, thank you.
Chris, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a comment. I'm sure the value on the cigar boxes has gone up in the last 2 years, so.
Thank you.
We have all the ballots?
One more.
Whoever's the lucky person, I'm gonna do one ballot at a time.
Okay.
And then I'll-
Podium should be on.
For Ashley to note, okay?
Don Creefall. Don Creefall. Gonring. 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 Creefall. Creefall. McCune. Creefall. 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 Gonring. Creefall. Creefall. Gonring. Gonring. Creefall. 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 Gonring. Creefall. 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 Gonring.
So on the count of 17 to 8, we have a new chairman, Mr. Creefall. So at this point, I am going to step down. We have a new chairman, and Mr. Creefall will run the meeting from this point on. You need this back. Oh, yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for having the confidence in me to lead us forward. Together, we can continue to identify and implement innovative solutions and make government work more efficiently and effectively. Together, we can have Washington County provide necessary services while reducing expenses to meet our revenues. Together, we can make government work the way it's supposed to work. I will do my best to live up to the responsibility you have entrusted me with. Thank you again. Bear with me while I get back to where I'm supposed to be. Okay, we'll move on to the election of the first vice chairperson. First vice chairperson is your yellow. And I will open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Mike Bassel. Okay, we have a nomination for Supervisor McCune. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations?
You have to vote.
Yeah, we still have to vote. Supervisor Harvick? Nomination of Pete Sorcy. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any nominations? Nominations are closed. McCune, and Sorcy are your candidates. Please vote with the yellow sheet, please. Josh?
Do we have all the yellow ballots? Mark McCune. 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 Sorcy. McCune. Sorcy. McCune. 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 Sorcy. McCune. Sorcy. McCune. Sorcy. McCune. Sorcy. McCune. Sorcy. McCune. 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 Sorcy. Sorcy. McCune.
We have a first vice chair. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully Don plans on staying here the full term. I'll pitch it, but it's
Thank you, Mary. Now, the next one, we are going to select them by lot,
Okay.
standing committees.
We'll select the committee chairs by lot for voting purposes, so. Just for the order of voting, sorry.
Public Works Committee.
Public Works Committee is first. Public Works is your green card. I'll open the floor for nominations for chair for Public Works. Mr. Hartwig. Mike Basil declines? Okay.
I nominate John Bulova.
John Bullowa? Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. As we have only one candidate, we can suspend the rules and
So moved. Suspend the rules, unanimous ballot.
unanimous ballot.
That was Chris.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
Human Services Committee.
Human Services Committee. Human Service Committee will be your lilac one, or guys, it'll be pink. Nominations from the floor. Supervisor Bossert?
I nominate Christine Geist.
Okay. Are there any nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. We can have a motion to suspend rules for unanimous ballot. So moved by Supervisor Mahalik, second by John Balloa. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Congratulations, Chris.
Administrative Committee.
Administrative Committee, open for nominations. Supervisor Mahalik.
Thank you very much. I'd like to place my name in consideration for Chair of the Administrative Committee. I do that so I can make just a quick announcement that while we're sitting here, my son Zachary is at MEPS, which is Military Enlistment, as the fourth one of our children signing up for service in the Armed Forces with the Army Reserve, literally as we're doing this. And as a veteran, I'm just very proud of that. So,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for, tell him thank you for his service. Okay, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. I'll entertain a motion to suspend rules. So moved by Supervisor Kelling, second by Supervisor Schleif. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Congratulations, Tim.
Public Safety Committee.
Public Safety Committee.
I'd like to nominate Mike Boswell.
Any other nominations? Marilyn?
Nominate Ryan Krebs.
Ryan Krebs is nominated. Do you accept?
No, I do not.
Okay. Supervisor Krebs declines. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any nominations are closed. We will motion to suspend rules and declare it unanimous ballot. Balloa and Schleif. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. And then the last one will be land use and planning. Mr. McCune?
Life, to pronounce it correctly.
Mr. Schleif, you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right, nominations are closed. I'll accept the motion from Mr. Mary for unanimous consent, seconded by Mr. Mahalik. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jeff. Welcome. Okay. With the election of the committee chairs, from that pool of 5, we will nominate and elect a second vice chair. Mr. Basso. Do you accept, Chris?
Yes, I do.
Are there any other nominations for second vice chair? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, motion to suspend rules for an unanimous consent. Mr. Kelling, Mr. Schleif. Sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. There you go, Chris. Good job. That's right. All right. We have broken that glass ceiling finally. There you go. Okay. Consideration upon request reading of resolutions.
Ashley's gonna read
Okay.
all of them.
You gonna read all of them? We'll read all of them together?
Read 2 separately. Quite a few together and 1 separately.
Okay.
All right.
Commendation of Dawn M. Ayer, Jeffrey T. Geib, Daniel R. Getz, Raymond W. Heidke, Michael R. Miller, Michael A. Otten, and Gerald J. Schultz. Whereas these honored and respected members of the Washington County Board has chosen to bring an end to their distinguished service on the board, and whereas by their straightforward manner and devotion to duty, they won the friendship and esteem of their colleagues, and whereas Dawn M. Ayer, Jeffrey T. Geib, Daniel R. Getz, Raymond W. Heidke, Michael R. Miller, Michael A. Otten, and Gerald J. Schultz have always given freely of their time and talents, and their efforts provided visible and tangible improvements to their communities and the citizens of Washington County, whereas it is the distinct desire of the County Board to pay tribute to Dawn M. Ayer for her 6 years of service to the constituents of District 26, Jeffrey T. Geib for his 6 years of service to the constituents of District 7, Daniel R. Getz for his 26 years of service to the constituents of District 23, Raymond W. Heidke for his 10 years of service to the constituents of District 14, Michael R. Miller for his 10 years of service to the constituents of District 4, Michael A. Otten for his 2 years of service to the constituents of District 10, and Gerald J. Schultz for his 12 years of service to the constituents of District 9. Now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Dawn M. Ayer, Jeffrey T. Geib, Daniel R. Getz, Raymond W. Heidke, Michael R. Miller, Michael A. Otten, and Gerald J. Schultz for their past years of service to the board. Be it further resolved that this resolution be made a part of the recorded proceedings of the board. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Dawn M. Ayer, Jeffrey T. Geib, Daniel R. Getz, Raymond W. Heidke, Michael R. Miller, Michael A. Otten, and Gerald J. Schultz as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
I'll stand with a token of appreciation. I'm going to invite the supervisors that are here to come on up to receive.
And I'll start giving them.
Okay. We have here Raymond.
Ray.
Tom Niebler,
Here's what Ray's got too. Anybody else? That's it? Okay.
I need to raise this one.
We got,
Niebler's.
you don't want that. I got you, Ray.
Sorry about that, Ray. Ray, thanks for all your service. It's really been a pleasure working with you. You've always been a great stand-up guy, great member, great president, so I really appreciate all your time. Gonna miss you. Thank you.
I've had the opportunity to serve town of Germantown, village of Germantown, town of Jackson, and the village of Jackson, and I never moved. But it's been a pleasure serving all of them. Thank you very much.
Don, we need a motion for these past commendations, and then we'll need a motion for Tom's. And that, so can you get up after the fact motion for these commendations, for these past commendations?
Tom, you come up.
No, I haven't read his yet.
You haven't read it?
No.
I'm sorry.
no. We don't have any other supervisors here?
I don't see anyone else.
No, okay. Whereas Thomas R. Niebler is ending his tenure as a county board supervisor today, and whereas Thomas R. Niebler has served on the county board for 6 years, showing dedication to serving the constituents of District 18 of Washington County, and whereas his unselfish public spirit has been recognized by his fellow county board members, now therefore be it resolved by the Washington County Board of Supervisors that Thomas R. Niebler is commended for his past years of service on this board. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to him best wishes in his future endeavors. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Thomas R. Niebler as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
your time, for all your efforts. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just glad that I am old enough to, that I lived through it. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't expect this. Thank you.
Okay, I'll need a motion in a second and to, make a motion, and Joseph Gunnery, to move those resolutions forward. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes, thank you. Our next meeting date is May 9th. It'll be our first 6 o'clock meeting at night. And as we have conducted all our business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Krebs and Mr. Parsons, second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Can you announce that at the